Hey guys, I'm just out here in the woods trying to find some of my favorite springtime wild edibles. I figured this would be a great place to start the video. I'm super excited about this one. The herbarium is just so cool to me. I think it's fantastic trying to preserve nature and do it in an artistic way, like Sarah was saying. It's awesome. It's mixing nature with art and the knowledge that was passed down from generation to generation, and there's just so many important plants that grow all around us that are taken for granted. And not only do they provide an ecosystem for each other, but they help keep us alive too. And I love the relationship between plants and humans and the things that they can do for us, and especially in our local environment here, it's just so varied. We have all 4 seasons, so there's just so much diversity in the plants that grow around here. And I think a lot of people take that for granted around here too, is they just see green and they think, oh, it's just grass and weeds and whatever, but there's so much more to it, and there's so much that we can eat that isn't taken advantage of that used to be. Like the Native Americans used to use, they had a use for every single plant they could find. Everything. And now we think a lot of it's just weeds, and they were like medicinal plants for them that were really important. So I think I wanted to touch on as well the way that ecosystems change and the way that some of the plants aren't going to be here in the future, and there's some plants that aren't here now. So behind me you see an ash tree, and if you see these white scabs up and down the tree, that's from a bug called an ash borer, and it's killing this tree right now. They burrow themselves into it and they eat the inside of the tree. And if you look around outside now, almost all the ash trees around here have this blight, and it's only a matter of time until we're not going to have very many ash trees around here, and right now they're very plentiful. So it's just wild to see the changing landscape because of bugs or different plants that take the place of other plants, or there's just so much that happens. And I think it's really important to get out in nature and observe it and see what happens. And if you can do your part to make a difference and maybe preserve a plant species, that's pretty cool. So I want to talk about what I found out here now. You'll see all around me under this tree here, these are called ramps. These are wild spring onions, and I'm super excited about these. Every year they come up around this time, and they're only around for a little while, so I get really excited to get out here and find them while they're around. So if you look for them, look in a wooded area like this where there's an array of hardwood trees, and they either have 2 or 3 leaves, and they have this onion bulb, so that's how you can tell. And if they smell like onions and they have a bulb like this and they have a stalk that looks like a scallion, that's a ramp. You're good to go. So maybe you could get out in the woods and see if you could find them. Another one that I have, I just stumbled across these. These are called spring beauties. They're beautiful little flowers, and these are edible. They actually taste a little bit like cucumbers. They're super cool. And the roots are edible as well. But I wanted to show you the ramps because for the cooking part of this today, I'm going to show you guys how to make a pesto. And I'm going to use basil for that, but I wanted to get some of these ramps too, because typically you would use garlic in a pesto, but I'm going to use these ramps instead because they have a beautiful, fresh, oniony flavor. So I'm going to go home and show you guys how to do that. Alright, so I'm back home now, cleaned up, got all the ticks off me, out of the woods. I brought my ramps home that I foraged. I just wanted to give another little tidbit about the ramps. I don't actually take the bulbs, I just kind of cut them off at the ground because I don't like to take the roots so that they grow back the following year. They take 7 years to go to seeds, so we want to make sure that we're preserving nature while we're enjoying it. I also have some basil here that we're going to use in our pesto, and I'm currently working at a basil farm down the road from my house. My friends over here at Sun Aqua. So I got some nice fresh hydroponic basil from there, and I'm including with the video a bunch of pictures that are going to show you from seed to harvest. So that'll be a fun little thing to look at the progression of how the plants grow. So along with that, we're going to teach you how to make a pesto. So pesto in Italian means to smash or crush. So it's basically just a sauce, olive oil based, and herbs. You could use any herbs, but it's traditionally basil. And they traditionally use pine nuts in it, but I'm going to be using walnuts. And when you're using walnuts, it's a good thing to soak them and then roast them, because then you break down the outer hulls, and the outer hulls have an enzyme inhibitor in it, so you don't get the full nutrition in the walnut unless you do this process. But it doesn't take long. You just soak it for a couple hours and then drain it, and then you can just toast it from there. I didn't actually soak these ones because I didn't have time, but you get the idea. So we have that, and then we have some Parmesan cheese that we grated. And as I said before, I usually use garlic in a pesto, but I'm going to be using these ramps because they're abundant right now, and why not use some local ingredients. And the basil, and that's pretty much it. Salt and pepper. It's really simple, but it's a great sauce. You can put on anything. Great for pasta, any vegetables. So I'm going to get started on this. I'll have the recipe for you. I'm just going to kind of throw things in here because I know the ratios, but I'll have the recipe linked there and you can follow that pretty easily. So I'm just going to rip my basil plant up. You can get quite a bit of stem in there. I wouldn't say all the stem, but we're just grating it up, and it's not going to be a problem. It'll break down. And you can do this in a blender. I'm just using my food processor because I have one and I figured it'd be easier. But blender is fine. So I'm making a little more because I'm using my food processor. The recipe says 1 plant. And you can get these plants, they're in little sleeves in the grocery store. Almost any grocery store around here will have them. Definitely Wegmans. Alright, so we have that. And then it's 3 cloves of garlic, but I'm using the ramp, so I'm just going to do a bunch of ramps. You just want to break it up a little bit. You don't have to break it up too much because you're going to blend it. Just a little bit. And then we'll put our nuts in there. I like to put the leafy stuff down first and then the nuts on top because it kind of weights it down a little bit. And then we'll put our oil in last so it brings it all together. Put our cheese in there. We'll put some salt. I like to use kosher salt, and then we're going to use some fresh ground black pepper. Just a little bit of pepper, especially since the ramps and or garlic are going to be a little spicy. You don't need too much extra spice. So we'll put our olive oil in here. That should be good. And then we're just going to process that, and we should be good to go. Really quick and easy. And then the water in the basil and the ramps or garlic or whatever you're using, the water naturally in the vegetables is going to break down with the oil, and it's going to be enough liquid to make a nice sauce. Alright, so I'm going to stop this right here. You can go as chunky or as thin as you like, but I'm just going to stop it here for the video. And we have a nice thick chunky pesto here. And you can put that, like I said, on anything. It's great on pasta, vegetables, roasted vegetables, anything like that. So give it a shot. Try it at home. Tell me what you think.